Welcome back to Important Library Stuff, a podcast where library staff share the inside scoop on all the stuff that happens at Prince William Public Libraries. And trust us, it's a lot of stuff. I'm your host, Emily Bickers, media specialist from the Office of Communications and Marketing, and I am joined each episode by fellow staff members and special guests who know a lot more on each episode's topic than I do, which for this episode is cooking, baking, and mixology resources at the library. Today, I'm joined by Kelly Goff, library technician at Dumfries Library and host of our virtual mocktail series, and Wendy Weldon, makerspace librarian at Central Library and an excellent baker of pies, whose bakes were previously featured on our Kitchen Secrets series on social media. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Since this is the first time for both of you on the podcast, what are your 3 favorite books?
That's a hard question. I feel like my books' favorites change pretty regularly. Let's see, some recent ones that I enjoyed. Well, I finally, after many years of people telling me, read the Outlander series, and I'm obsessed. But I do like, serious books. We Begin at the End by Chris Whitaker is a recent favorite of mine. Covenant of Water, which I know is really popular, but I really love that one. And Cloud Cuckoo Land, which really took me by surprise because I didn't expect to like that genre very much, but I did.
Cool. So this is a challenging answer for me because I feel like books speak to you at different times of life to discover the message you need to grasp the most in those moments. For me, I like to learn, and so I do a lot of nonfiction. My 3 books, if I have to pick, When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. He is a neurosurgeon, and he has cancer, and it's about his process of going through that journey, and he knows that he's going to pass. So when my dad was really ill, I read this book, and it helped me process what my dad was going through, and it helped me to have some perspective on what's really important in life. My second book was Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I love to hike, and I was kind of going through a personal journey, trying to figure out who I was as a person outside of being a mom. So I really loved her courage to take that long Pacific Crest Trail. Is kind of crazy. So I really related to her, and I really love that book. And my last one is actually a fictional title. It's a book that was lent to me by a friend. It's A Prayer for Owen Meany by John Irving. And it really touches on there's a reason for everything, which is something my mother would always say to me. And sometimes that was a blessing, sometimes that was a curse. But this book, that theme is very strong, but the writing is beautiful. You come to love the characters. And one of the things that I thought was super cool about this particular copy was that my friend had written notes in the margins kind of annotating the book. And it was almost like we were having a silent book discussion. It just gave me a little bit more perspective in their thought process. So I really love that.
I love that idea, though.
Yeah, it was very cool. I've never seen that before.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for sharing. So Thanksgiving is coming up, and it got me thinking about food and drinks and hosting. Do you have any favorite Thanksgiving dishes or baking traditions?
Obviously, pie.
That's funny that you say that because we don't actually eat a lot of pie. I mean, pumpkin pie, because I feel like that's a staple. But we don't, in our family, we don't actually make a lot of pie. My uncle passed down a cheesecake recipe, which is actually made in a pie plate, and it's a really simple cheesecake. My mom used to make it every year, and now I'm the designated maker of the cheesecake. And
delicious.
it is such a simple cheesecake, but it is so delicious. So I would say that's probably our biggest tradition. But I also love sweet potatoes in any shape or form.
Sweet potato pie is very good. Pie, apart from my mom's wonderful stuffing, it's the thing that I like to bake the most year-round. It's always foreign to me when people say they don't like pie. What?
Maybe they haven't tried your pie.
Well, yeah.
Obviously.
Obviously.
We love pie. We just don't make it very often. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the difficulty level. I don't know.
Yeah, easy as pie is not easy.
So what kind of cooking or baking materials does the library offer for people planning their Thanksgiving meals or just everyday meals?
We have a lot.
We do. We have a lot.
I even researched a little bit before I did this.
Me too.
And I was like, wow, there's so much more than I even realized. Obviously, we have physical materials, magazines, and cookbooks. We have so many cookbooks, and our cookbooks are really popular all year long, I think, at least at our branch. But we have so many digital resources that I think people don't know about.
Yes, we have like Hoopla, obviously, and Libby and Freeding. Megster is great. So if you're a fan of Martha Stewart Living, you can find that. And it's up on your screen, so you're not going to like get your book dirty when you're cooking, because I do that. But we also have the Spice Club, which I think is such a cool resource. So all of our branches have them. You pick up a bag. It has a little bit of a spice, like about a teaspoon of spice, and it comes with a recipe that's from our collection. And it's a good way to try a different spice, because people like have their favorites, but they don't necessarily want to branch into something different. And so it gives them an opportunity to try something. And I think that's a great resource.
It is a great resource. I actually appreciate that all of the recipes from the Spice Club come from our A to Z World Food site, which is also on the digital library. And one thing I noticed when I was researching this, Canopy, which is typically for films and videos, Canopy with a K, they actually have quite a few long-form, like instructional videos, which I didn't even realize, and they're really good quality. Even Access Video had some cooking videos with Julia Child stuff.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah, but I was also surprised with the number of cookbooks on, Freeding, Libby, and Hoopla.
Yes.
I don't think of those sites as something to look for a cookbook on, but there was quite a few on there.
Yeah, there's a lot on there. Creative Bug also has some food-related items, too. So a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah, especially A to Z Food America and A to Z World Food are just focused only on recipes and like the culture behind foods in the different states and countries. So
I love that site. Yeah. It's really cool.
So talking about all these cool ways to find recipes, have either of you tried a recipe from a library book or digital resource? How did it work out?
Yes.
Oh, definitely. I tend to find stuff when I'm checking books in at the desk, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, this cookbook is beautiful, and I start flipping through it, and I'm like, I'll check it out.
That's good. I had a cookbook addiction, which I've donated a lot back to the library. My kids did a lot of cooking through high school, middle school. They were involved with different clubs, and like French club, German club. And the A to Z World recipes were great because they were easy to follow, and they could cook it themselves. I didn't have to do it for them. So that was a really great resources. And I know kids always have special projects to do. So that was a really good resource.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So are there any particular cookbooks that are popular this time of year?
I think the baking ones get really popular during the holidays for obvious reasons.
I do have a favorite when it comes to baking. It's the Pie for Everyone, and it is written by Petra Paredes. Now, Petra actually is the daughter of a local pie baker, Mom's Apple Pie, and she went out to New York City, and she started her own shop, and has been voted the best pie shop in New York City. So I actually follow her recipes to the T, and every one of them has turned out delicious. Now, that's a pie book I use just as a Bible. They have savory pies and sweet pies, and it's just a great base. And when you're making the crust, that is going to set the tone of your pie. So she does a great job with that. We also kind of stray a little bit from the norm. Sometimes we don't always do the traditional holiday foods. And one year I decided, let's just switch it up. Let's try some Middle Eastern food. So a great book that I enjoyed a lot, and my family really enjoyed, was the Bread and Salt Between Us, Recipes and Stories from a Syrian Refugee's Kitchen. And it's by Anjari Mayada. And she was a refugee. She had moved to this country, and she actually got connected with a community church, and she started cooking, and they shared, recipes, and it's a really beautiful story. So in actually both of the books, the cookbooks, and I think there's a bit of a trend now for cookbooks, people tell their stories, and it really connects you with their food. And I love that part of it. So Petra does that in her cookbook, and also Anjari does that with hers, and she tells her story. So I think that's something to bear in mind. You can stray from the normal holiday, food and try something different. Challenge yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Like, it's so nice to mix it up sometimes and just try something different. And that is a good point about cookbooks. It's like people think, oh, well, I don't cook that much, or I don't like to cook, or whatever, and they just don't think about checking out a cookbook. But so many cookbooks are not just about the food. They are really about the person. And like you were saying about your nonfiction, I also love nonfiction, but memoirs specifically, because I love people, and this is why I work at a library, because that's all we do is talk to people all day. And so it's kind of like a little mini memoir with from a person who just also is a chef or isn't a chef and just wants to share their recipes with you. So that's a really good point. I love that about the newer cookbooks. And I know that particular book you're talking about, I've seen go out a few times.
The Bread and Salt Between Us.
Yeah,
there's been fantastic.
Yeah, there's quite a few cookbooks in that, genre that are very popular. And I think that's the reason.
So we mentioned a lot of the great digital resources like A to Z Food America, A to Z World Food, Hoopla, Libby, Canopy, Freeding, also Magster for magazines. You can find all these digital resources on our digital library at pwcva.gov/digital library. But now let's chat about programs. Wendy, you mentioned Spice Club, which we started earlier this year, but just this fall we started releasing recipe videos to go with them. So that's been a lot of fun, and you can find those on our YouTube. So, Kelly, you've run virtual mocktail programs for a while now. Can you share more information about that program and any tips you have for people who want to impress people they're hosting this holiday season?
Sure. Yeah, we've been doing it. I just finished our Halloween mocktails, which was the third year of doing it. But we do 4 times a year. It's not really quarterly, but I try to tie it to something festive. So typically we'll do Halloween sometime in December for the holidays, and then Valentine's Day, and then I just do, to mix it up, I do a summertime one in June. It's just a fun little thing that I wanted to do. My background is in wine sales, and during COVID, we would do online classes and teach people how to make cocktails, actually. And I wanted to change it up a little bit because just stay in, have a fun night, invite a friend over. But I'll tell you the things that really makes a mocktail. Keep it simple. I'm a big fan of keeping it simple. Using fresh ingredients makes all the difference, just like with cooking and pies and that type of thing. The best quality ingredients are always going to make the best drink. And then it's all about the garnishes. Like, if you don't have a fun garnish, like what is the point even, So that's what we try to focus on. It gets a little bit more difficult to mix it up after a few years, but I try to keep it interesting and do something completely different for every single event, because I do have a lot of people that have been with me and coming every single time. And even if you can't attend, please register, because a lot of the interaction for the class isn't just at the live event, it's pre-event. So I send out, many books of emails about ingredients that you need, kitchen tools that you'll need, so that you can have everything prepped and ready to go to make the mocktails along with me when we do have the live event. I do not record them, so if you miss it, you miss it, but that's okay, because there's another one coming up, and then you can always make them on your own time. And I do encourage my patrons to send me photos, or just share with me, send me an email and share with me how it went, and if they had a good time, and if they liked it, and what they didn't like, and all of that. So it's a lot of fun. I actually really, really enjoy it.
That's fun. That's very cool.
Awesome. So, Wendy, back during the COVID-19 pandemic, we started a Kitchen Secret series on social media where we posted recipes and photos that library staff tried at home. And you made several pies for that series. They were all hits. Do you have any tips for budding bakers who want to make a pie from scratch this holiday season?
It's not as easy as pie. And your crust is your base. So that's where you put the concentration in. Again, fresh, whole ingredients. I never use margarine. I always use butter. I just think it's better. My big hint for a great pie crust is to keep everything cold at every stage of making that pie. And I actually start off with putting everything in the freezer. The flour, the butter, the paddle, the bowl, you put it in the freezer overnight. And then the next morning you start, or the next day you start, making your pie crust. And it's just a matter of timing, watching how much liquid you're putting in. You can use, I always put ice water. But the reason why you keep everything cold at every stage is because when you've preheated the oven and you put that very cold pie into the oven, there's a chemical reaction. That's what creates those flaky, buttery layers. And so that is probably my biggest hint is keep everything cold and be patient with yourself. Sometimes you're going to make the crust. It's not going to work out, so you just remake it. It's just flour, water, butter. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. That's my thing. Challenge yourself. Be patient.
Wow, we're hosting this year, and now you have just inspired me to make a pie. I've never made pie crust. I've never made pie crust from scratch. I've always buy the crust and then make the pie. But now I'm going to try it. Thank you, Wendy.
If you need help, I'm happy to help you.
So what other food or drink-related programs are happening around the library?
So there is a tween cuisine from 4-H. They come into our different branches, and they teach kids how to actually cook, not just Dino nuggets and fries, but actual healthy food. And I think that's such a great program because it gets kids thinking about, meal prep and healthy food, and it gives them a lot of confidence. And I think that's great. That's a great program.
It's really important for kids to understand where their food comes from.
Yes.
And if they can be involved in preparing it, they get more excited about wanting to eat healthy stuff or at least try it. They become an active participant. And it's actually a really good, healthy habit for the rest of life.
Absolutely.
And then Heather at Independent Hill does a bookish beverages and dastardly drinks series. And that I've watched that. Is so much fun.
Yeah, Heather and I did a little powwow before I started the mocktails because I do mine live, and so I was really nervous about that. But they are really into the creative editing and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a totally different thing. But we definitely did put heads together before I started, and
excellent.
Yeah, I really enjoy that program.
Cool.
They're all on our YouTube, all the ones that Heather's done. So if you go to Prince William Public Library, search it on YouTube, and then bookish beverages, they'll all come up, which is great. All right, so Prince William Public Libraries has 2 makerspaces open to the public. How can the makerspace tools be used for food or drink-themed projects? Have either of you used them for something of that purpose?
This is all you, because this is right
me.
Up your alley.
Although you can come and learn.
I could. I really need to. I really need to.
So, oh my goodness, what can't you make? Because you can make so many things. So my coworker, she did the spice jar project. They could choose the wording and maybe a cute little picture of a spice and then glow forge it onto the lid. And that was a really successful program. We still have a lot of jars left, so you could always come over, Kelly, and practice that. And Karen can teach you that. We love to teach people in the makerspace. So that was one project I actually did with a lot of help from Natalie, learn a little bit of Adobe, and I made a cake topper for my son's commissioning cake. He commissioned into the Navy last year. I wanted it to be something really special and personalized. I guess it's a tradition for commissioning that you have a cake. And I created a anchor with his name, his ship name, and all of that. And that was really, really beautiful, and it looked really nice. And then I also did a cake topper for Lucy, and she got married last year, and so we threw her a lovely little wedding shower, and I made her a cake topper for that too. So you can learn design process, put it in the glow forge, it cuts it. It's just an amazing thing. You can embroider napkins or towels. That's really nice. 3D cookie cutters. There's just so many things you can do. Lots of stuff with the Cricut machine. Glass etching is a thing. It turns out really lovely. So it's just the possibilities are limitless. Just use your imagination. And we, as a staff, will get you there. We'll get you to your final project.
That's so exciting. Now I want to make myself some glass-etched mocktails glasses.
Oh, you could totally do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We also have lots of beads that have been donated. So people have made those like little wine charms with the beads. And that's also food related. It's really cute. And that you can just walk in and do.
Nice.
So switching gears a little bit to talk about books. What's a book where food plays a major role in the story or helps define the characters?
I had so many that came up for me, but I two books that stood out to me. One is called From Scratch. It is kind of like a memoir. It's a true story about this. And they also made a movie out of it as well. And it's about this woman who goes to Italy to school and meets the love of her life. And, they're married and have kids. And unfortunately, he gets really sick. And I won't say more than that. But it's a beautiful, gorgeous story. And the movie's great too, honestly. But I'm a big fan of reading the book before watching any adaptation.
Yes.
But then also Crying in H Mart is like I cried so hard at that book. Yeah, it's just like one of my favorites.
I read the book Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel. Her main character, Tita, uses her emotions when she cooks. And, the saying is true. You cook with love, and you can taste that love in the cooking. And sometimes it's love, and sometimes it's a little vengeance. So sometimes people get sick from her cooking, but not because it's food poisoning. It's just her emotion, or she's angry or upset. So I think that's kind of cool. It was an interesting book. It's also very sad, but it's a way to use food in the writing, and I think that's such a cool thing to do. Because it's something we all do. We all eat and drink.
Yeah, I love that book. That's actually on my list as well. I had it written down. So I'm glad you brought it up too. It's funny that when you ask us this question, Emily, two people come up with the same book. That tells you something, that it's obviously stood out.
Good writing.
Another one I thought of was Lessons in Chemistry, which was so popular in the last few years. And then for kids, I thought the iconic Green Eggs and Ham. I mean, can we just, everyone in the world knows about this book. And
that's true.
It's so iconic, I think I actually overlooked it initially because it's just like part of who we all are.
Or Stone Soup. Stone Soup is another one for kids. That's a great one.
The talk about Like Water for Chocolate is a good segue to this question. Why do you think authors use food and drink to build atmosphere or emotion?
It's sensory.
And it's an everyday part of life.
Yeah.
It literally, food is the fuel for our bodies.
Right. And it also touches on your memory. I mean, I think the scent and the taste, it just brings back memories from your childhood or better times or sometimes sad times. So just evoking that's a great tool for authors to just evoke that emotion because everyone can relate to it. Or even just the sound of clinking glasses or, setting your fork down or setting the table. All of that is sensory, and it just brings all that to the reader's mind. I think that's such a cool tool to use.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I think that we have a tendency to over-intellectualize things so much and, live in our heads all the time. But really, your body remembers everything, just as you were saying, childhood memories and all of that stuff. So your your sensory experiences that your body experiences, it's going to remember.
So if you could eat one fictional meal from any book, what would it be?
Not anything from The Red Wedding.
Oh, yeah.
From Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, pass.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one. But one of my very favorite books and movies is A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. It's such a great children's book. It's a JFIC book. And Sarah, the main character, and her friend Becky awaken to a lovely breakfast and tea. They have been treated horribly at this boarding house. And when they wake up, somebody had placed food and they were so hungry. But when they, take off the napkin and they see this beautiful food, I just want that. And not just to eat, but to smell and to share with these two little girls who have been hungry for so long. That was such a beautiful part of the story. So I would want that breakfast.
That sounds amazing. I want that breakfast now, too.
I want that breakfast.
Yeah. I actually get really curious because I have a wine background and I was in the wine industry for so many years before I started working at the library. I'm always curious to taste the wines in books. Like I'm always like, what wine are they drinking? What year is it? It's just so interesting to me because I love to try things. I love to taste things. And that's partially why I love, doing the programs that I do because it's fun to experiment. And experimenting with beverages seems less of an investment if it goes bad or goes awry. Wine and whiskey seems to heavily be mentioned in a lot of books, especially historical fiction, which is a lot of what I read. So,
I want tea with Jane Austen.
Oh, yeah. That'd be
I really
great.
do.
Yeah, that is a good point. The tea is probably amazing. I love tea.
The tea and crumpets, but nothing else.
Any specific wine and tea or other drinks you'd like to try?
Yes.
I like to try everything.
Well, I mean, there's a gin Ricky from The Great Gatsby.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But, so I'm not a fan of sweet drinks, but I do love the book and the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's a classic by Truman Capote. And I would love to try the White Angel, which is half gin, half vodka, no vermouth, garnished with an olive. So it's simple, but only one, because that's a whole lot of alcohol
Yes, I was
going
gonna
on there.
say,
But that
phew.
just sounds so lovely, in the black dress with the pearls.
Sip it
standing
over the course of
outside
an evening.
Yeah, just so lovely.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Like, I love the classic cocktails. Mm-hmm. It's not something that you want to drink every day, and it might not even be your favorite thing, but just the callback to those times, especially in the 20s, gin reigned supreme.
Oh, yes.
And
Gin's my jam.
Same.
Gin's my jam.
But, I don't know, the thing I like about wine and even, spirits is that many of them, especially gin, they are a true representation of where they're made. So, the botanicals they use in gin, it really depends on where they were grown, how they were grown, not to be too fancy, but the terroir matters, and same with wine. And so it's interesting. It's like trying a different food from a different place. There's so many ethnic foods that have different variations of recipes and things like that, and it matters, whose mom made it and what market she got the ingredients from, and it can alter a recipe or a taste so slightly. I think that's what makes food so much fun, and that's why we don't get so bored of it.
So which 3 literary characters would you invite to your Thanksgiving meal?
Do I have to introduce them to my family? No,
you do
It's
not.
a tricky question.
I have to pick 4
Okay.
because 2 of them are going to be for me and my daughter. Elizabeth Bennet,
Yes.
she's witty, and Bridget Jones, because she's just funny and can't make food. My husband, of course, would love Sherlock Holmes. Definitely one of his favorites. And for really my boys, Tyrion Lannister, because Tyrion is just awesome. He's a great character. He would make it a lot of fun. A lot of quips.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting conversation to be a part of.
Yes.
This question is so hard because, well, for two reasons. I love people so much. Like, I could just pick a Joe Schmo off the street and be really intrigued about them because I just am like that. And I love hearing about people's stories. But it's also kind of a foreign concept because weirdly, and don't judge her because she's no longer with us, but my mom was not a fan of inviting outside people. Like, this was such a special time and her family was so important to her that she really wanted us to all be in that bubble together, and she just didn't want any outsiders, upsetting the apple cart in that bubble. But I'm going to go back to my obsession with Outlander. I mean, those people are like my family. In any one of them, any one of those characters could come sit at my table now, and it would be great, and I would be the happiest camper.
That's a good answer, actually.
Well, this was fun.
Thank you so much. I'm very hungry, but I feel like I learned a lot.
Sure
This was great. I learned a lot too.
Yeah,
Do you have any parting thoughts or tips?
I do. I wrote this down because I think it's kind of important. So, especially with the hustle and the bustle of the upcoming holidays. So your family will remember how wonderful everything tasted, but it's also important for you to enjoy the holiday with them. So try not to stress. Take a little time for shelf care with a fun read and a cup of tea, and drop into one of our maker spaces to create something you'll enjoy just for yourself. I think that's important.
Keeping it simple is so important because of that. You want to be able to, the whole point of being together is being together. Yeah. And the food's going to be there, and it's, I've told my family this year, because it'll be our first Thanksgiving without my mom, and that we're just going to keep it simple. We're not doing anything dramatic. Everything will be easy that we know how to make, and it's not going to be that hard, and we're just going to keep it as simple as possible because it's just, you're right, it's not worth it stressing out and making everything perfect and beautiful. It's like, it's just going to go right in your stomach anyway.
I will close us out with a quote from the book referenced in the episode's title, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat by Samin Nosrat. Recipes lead us to believe that cooking is a linear process, while most good food results from a circular one. Like a spider web, touch one part and the entire thing will quiver. Thanks for listening, and join us next month for the next episode of Important Library Stuff.